Hi, I'm Kimberly Allison from Starliner Music. Welcome to my channel. Today we'll be talking about the octave. First, we'll look at some fingerings and then we'll do some exercises. Here we go. I hope you enjoy it. An octave is the distance of 12 half steps or 6 whole steps. If I'd like to find an octave across one string, I would go 12 frets. So, from an open E, an octave would be at the 12th fret. I could also do this anywhere across one string. Here's 3rd fret G. If I'd like to find its octave, I would go to the 15th fret. You may also find an octave across adjacent strings. For instance, if I play the 6th string open, the octave on the 5th string would be at the 7th fret. The same is true for the next string set. Here's open A, the 5th string. Its octave is at the 7th fret on the 4th string. The 7th fret away rule for adjacent strings is true everywhere but between the 3rd and 2nd string, where we have tuning adjustment. In this case, from open G to the next adjacent string, the 2nd string, we would have to go to the 8th fret to find the octave. There are 2 basic ways to play an octave within position. The first is toward the bridge. The shape from lower to higher note points toward the bridge. Let's look at those at 5th fret. Here's A, and it's octave A. Notice I skipped over one string and one fret. On the next string group, here's D, and it's octave D. We have the same shape. Next I have G, and notice I have to adjust the shape because of the tuning. All guitar strings have the same intervallic distance between them except the 2nd and 3rd string. Therefore, anytime I cross from between the 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd string to either the 2nd or 1st string, I will have to adjust my intervallic shape for tuning. Back to our example of G. Here's G, and it's octave G. Notice how I had to expand my shape to accommodate tuning here. I will have to do the same thing when I go to C here. Notice I have tuning adjustment there as well. Let's turn that back around now toward the nut. Here's A, and then A toward the nut. I skip over 2 strings and 2 frets. Next we have D. Notice how I have immediate tuning adjustment here. So I've contracted my shape in 1 fret to accommodate the tuning. Next we have the note G, and this is also tuning adjusted. The question I get now is, why? Why do I have to learn these octave patterns? It doesn't seem like very much fun. I'd rather just learn a song and maybe forget about octave patterns. Well, it doesn't have to take all day to learn octave patterns. Really, it just takes a few minutes a day. If you know the names of your notes on the 6th string and the 5th string, you can easily locate the rest of the notes on your fingerboard just by using your octave shapes. Let's see how that works. Let's take C at the 8th fret on the 6th string. So, we have to already understand that this note is C. And we also have to understand that this note is C at the 3rd fret. But watch how I can fill in the rest of the fingerboard quite simply. If I need to know where the C is on the 4th string, I use my octave. So there's C on the 4th string. Now for C on the 3rd string. If I don't know where that is, I use my octave from the 5th string. There's C on the 3rd string. Now for C on the 2nd string. Well, I could use a series of octaves to find that. C on the 6th, C on the 4th, and there's C on the 2nd. Finally, if you know your low E string, you should know your high E string, and C would be then located at the 8th fret. We can use our octave shapes to help locate scales, chords, and arpeggios, as well as transpose them. Let's look at an A at the 5th fret. There's my octave pattern. Here's the corresponding bar chord A that fits over the top. Here is the major scale pattern. Here is a major triad arpeggio. Because I understand this, I can then transpose all of those shapes up to C at the 8th fret. Same octave pattern shape now on C, same bar chord on C, same pattern for the C major scale, and there's my C triad arpeggio. Now let's try one more shape. Let's use this shape for an octave toward the nut. Here's my chord shape. Right now I'm playing an E chord because this octave was an E. So here's an E chord, E major scale, E triad arpeggio. I could simply move this shape up to G and then have a G chord, a G major scale, and a G triad arpeggio. Octaves can serve as root patterns for scales, chords, and arpeggios. If you understand the formula for a scale, chord, or arpeggio, you can then construct a pattern around the octaves. Let's look at a major triad. I'm going to choose the root A and first locate an octave pattern. Now, by knowing the formula for an A major triad, which is root, third, and fifth, I can construct a shape. If you don't understand what root, third, fifth means, we'll be covering these intervals in upcoming sections. Now I'm going to play the shape around those 3 octaves. You can see I've created a 3-octave arpeggio. No matter what style you like, you can always use your octave patterns to play some cool octave licks. Alright, let's do a couple of the sample exercises. We're going to be playing C octaves, first toward the bridge and then toward the nut. We'll be doing this from each string. We'll start from the 6th string, C at the 8th fret. Here we go, C toward the bridge. Toward the nut. Same thing on the next string. String. And finally, from the 3rd string, we can only play an octave toward the bridge. We're going to repeat the same exercise from the root G now. Here's G at the 3rd fret, octave toward the bridge. Toward the nut. Next string. Next string. And finally, from the 3rd string, we can only play an octave toward the bridge. Well, that's it for the octave. I'm Kimberly Allison from Starliner Music, and I hope to see you back on my channel soon.